Hope you're all still awake. Late Night Mega here. And I'm loading up. Do I not have... Oh, no. That's in a couple parts from now. I show that off. Yeah, I'm loading up from just finishing the story credits and that. I decided to start here because I don't know what's going to happen as soon as we load this up. I'm expecting possibly cutscenes, possibly... I don't know. One thing I will say, I am really excited about this post game. I've played about 6 or 7 parts of this already. Past gameplay. I mean, this is the text where we ended off last time, and I'm super excited for this post game and how things begin to unfold. We have Pirate Eric there.
Look, Veronica. Everyone's here to see you. We've come to celebrate with you. The world's at peace at long last. And Yggdrasil's in full bloom again. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is very nice how we were able to restore the world.
It still hasn't sunk in, you know? We really did it. We really saved the world.
Yes. Mordegon plunged Erdrea into darkness. So many lost their lives.
Okay, who is this so many besides Veronica?
But we survived. We have to make the most of that. We have to laugh and smile for those who can't.
All the cities and towns were still
we
intact.
May feel like crying. Goodness knows I do.
As far as we could tell, all the
But we
people were there.
mustn't. I can only imagine what Veronica would say.
Pull yourselves together. You've saved the world, you idiots. What are you blubbering for?
That's actually very good.
Excuse my awful impression.
Ah, here you all are. Huh? We were wondering where the guests of honor were. The festivities have already begun.
It's party time. Come on, darling. Let's go let our hair down.
Let our hair down? What, are we Rapunzel now? That's got to be some expression that I'm just not familiar with.
I'm gonna get you.
Looks like peace has even loosened up the Arborians.
Well, yeah, this is cause for
Then what are we waiting
celebration.
for? Let's make this a party to remember. For Veronica.
Ah, the pirate of the party. Yeah, we got an accolade for that. Oh, hey, a side quest. Can I see your face? Okay, there it is. I was like, why is this guy trying to hide his face? I thought he was trying to be like some secretive agent or something. That's the way it looked when I first approached, but no, he's a songwriter. Not nearly as interesting as I thought. Anyways, he lost a page to his song that he wrote. We gotta go find it. And we get things to do with metal goo. Ooh. I want that recipe book. So, yeah, we're gonna do the side quest. We have to go to Gallopolis. Alright, well, we'll do that. Now keep in mind, it says the homes of the noble families. Oh, we know a noble family in there. It was, I don't remember his name. Oh yeah, Hendrik's getting all this attention from the girls, and Eric's over here like, I wanted that attention. Ah, the Sword of Shadows. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. We have that, don't we? We can equip that. And this is past gameplay when you're trying to figure out why it's lowering our defense. It's because it's a two-handed weapon, and I didn't quite realize that at first. But yeah, the Sword of Shadows is a two-handed weapon. Greatly increases our attack power. We're not going to use that right now. Alright, well, let's see what else. They still haven't even cleaned this place up. Look at that. You got these smoldering, not meteors, smoldering piles of rock and lava. They spray it down with water, let it cool, do something, and then move it out of the way. Which that stuff actually should have cooled, well cooled by now, because it's been, you know, how long since that got there? Whatever. Oh, hey, here's Jade and Rab. Alright, but there are still some places that we haven't gone in the post-game, which I'm guessing we're going to be getting to. Actually, the way this unfolds is unlike pretty much any other post-game from RPGs that I've seen or played. You know, most of the times, I should talk about post-game content while we're just running around here doing this. So, post-game content, I think of like bonus dungeons, bonus bosses, things like that. Other things to do, other places to explore, and sometimes the post-game content can be very good. Sometimes it can be very, very bad, and I just don't care about it. An example of that, which you've already seen on this channel, Final Fantasy X had a lot of post-game content that I just absolutely did not care about because it was pretty much all grinding or farming all of these monsters, capturing 10 of every monster from every region, and grinding your sphere grids so everybody maxes out their sphere grids. And then the payoff, the reward or payoff for all of this is you get to fight, well, I mean, you could fight these super monsters beforehand, but not really compete against them due to their stats, their super size stats and all that. But you would get to fight and compete against all of these super monsters. And they're basically just versions of every enemy that you've fought previously.
Without us, honey. If you've got someplace to be, we can all go together, no?
Yeah, I have to go to Gallopolis.
Of course we
Not
can.
Gallopolis.
Now the world
Gondolia.
is at peace, the fun can really begin.
If you're looking for new adventures, I know where we can start. You saw that weird light shining south of Octagonia too.
Oh, yeah.
If it was up to me, that's where I'd be headed.
That was going to be the first
the
place I
boss.
was going to go. Well, after Gondolia. Alright, so just going to make sure I can get outside of town before triggering cutscenes, and then we'll start zooming around here. So yeah, you would fight these monsters that were basically like the same. They had like the same. They were just like recolored from different monsters you fought, or even a few bosses. And but they had like supercharged stats. To put things in equivalency, if you took this game and took like, you'd take like a basic slime and make it, I don't know, green, and gave it like 5,000 HP and have it deal 400 damage every time it does a normal attack. That's pretty much what it was. It did not interest me at all. Sometimes post-game content can be kind of varied for me. For instance, Final Fantasy XII's post-game content, there were some areas that we could explore, new areas to explore, new sort of quests to do. Not necessarily part of the main storyline, but just things like collecting some of the other espers and things of that nature. Mainly just exploring new areas, doing the hunts. Yeah, doing some of the hunts in that. And I enjoyed that for the most part. But then we got to, we got to an area where it basically jumped. The difficulty, difficulty spiked. And I didn't feel like grinding and preparing for fighting monsters that had, what was it, 40 million HP or something? It was more than 40 million. Wasn't it like 100 million or something like that? I forget the exact number. I mentioned it in my Final Fantasy XII Let's Play. Yeah, I ended up killing the thing with, was it 12 million or 8 million health? And maybe it was like one with 6 million, one with 8 million, one with 12 million, something like that. And I attempted the Yasmat fight, which that was the one that was like over 100 million health. And at that point, it was like no, I'm not interested in this. So some of the post-game content was cool. Some of it was, these super bosses that I just didn't feel like grinding for. I like post-game content that you can reasonably start out. Maybe we have to increase our levels by like 4 or 5 or something in order to have a reasonable chance. A good example of this would be the post-game content from Final Fantasy IV, specifically the Game Boy Advance and the PSP version, not the crappy DS version. I'll get to that, don't worry. Oh yeah, so I went to Gondolia here and I realized I need the ultimate key to get to the area where the nobles are. That was that whole sequence there. And so, post-game content, Final Fantasy IV, you opened up, once you beat the final boss, you opened up this ruins. You had to go beat the final boss again with different team members. And then, why did I come to Octagonia? I don't know. Oh, yeah, duh. I'm going towards that mysterious ruins. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I wasn't sure what I was doing in the town, and I don't think past gameplay me knew either. So these lunar ruins open up right after you beat Zeromus. Or Zeromus. And you can reasonably go in there and fight the monsters, compete against the monsters. You do need to level up a little bit before you start challenging some of the bosses in there, but not too bad. As some of them you can reasonably challenge, when you get to them as you progress through the lunar ruins. That's all this is, just kind of a bonus dungeon with bonus bosses. You don't have to do a super heavy amount of grinding. There are a couple monsters in there, specific monsters that are kind of very challenging, but there's ways and setups you can do to get around that. Now this area, we're going to have a cutscene here. And pretty much that's all I really expect from post-game content.
Well now, this place looks a mite familiar.
But the post-game content in this
It's
game,
these funny wee buildings. We've seen them before.
from what I've played so far, is
Yes, there's no
insanely
mistaking
good.
it. It looks just like the floating island where we met the Watcher, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go and take a closer look. Who knows? We might find something interesting.
Well, there was that relic that the final credit sequence was pointing us towards. I'm just going to take a quick look around here. So yeah, I'm usually not expecting too much out of post-game content. Just give me something that I can do, maybe a couple dungeons, some bonus bosses, but don't make it too challenging where you have to grind a whole bunch just to be able to compete against these bonus bosses. Now, that brings me back to Final Fantasy IV DS, which is probably the worst offender for post-game content that I've seen. And one of a variety of reasons that I really hate that game. I hate what it did to Final Fantasy IV. It is, in my opinion, the worst Final Fantasy game ever. While Final Fantasy IV is the best Final Fantasy game, in my opinion. But the DS remake just slaughtered the game. Especially when it came to post-game content. So that Lunar Runes that I mentioned, that was completely gone. The post-game content that you could access after beating the game and reasonably compete against, that's gone. In fact, in order to access Final Fantasy IV DS's post-game content, you need to play through the entire main story a second time. And your reward for doing this is 2 super bosses. That's right. They took an entire dungeon out with bonus bosses and all this and replaced it with 2 super bosses.
It really draws you in, doesn't
Oh, it
it?
gets worse than that. Not only do you have to do an insane amount of grinding if you even want to hope to compete against these 2 super bosses, you will most likely have to play through the game a 3rd time in order to collect multiple copies of the augments that you need to give certain characters so that you can actually compete against these bosses and kill them.
The Watchers of late. Let me see if I can find the right part.
That is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible design. And no, I will not get over it.
Spirits of lost time. Beings born from the land. Beings who control time.
But clearly here we have a
Spirits of
post-game
lost
content
time.
that actually
Could they be
has,
these figures in the painting?
you know, plot and story involved.
According to the book, they guard a sacred light that controls the flow of time. And when that light burns bright enough, even those who are lost to eternity can be restored.
Restored how, exactly? You mean like brought back to life?
And
Wait, if that was true, then maybe...
this is
Well,
where
just
I
maybe.
am really... I know I'm like just getting into this post-game content. I said I've only had like about 6 or
We
7
lost someone
episodes
to
so
eternity,
far.
didn't we? Someone we'd love to see again.
Veronica. Now this post-game content,
Veronica.
I feel spectacular. This is like
really
setting
think we could
setting a new bar for post-game
Bring
content.
her back.
It has story, it has plot.
Well,
You can get
what else
into
does it say
it
about this light?
reasonably right after. Well, so far I've been able to get into it reasonably right after beating the
Light
final
lives
boss.
in Tower's heart. Sacred Tower. Tower of lost time. Watchers guard Wheel of Time. Key to Tower. Key to time.
Okay, so we need the Wheel of Time.
Key brings spirits. Sets wheels in motion.
So if we had the Wheel of Time, we might really be able to...
What have we got to lose? If there's even a chance, we have to try, right?
And this is all just vague enough so that I'm sure it will happen.
Eric's
You know?
right. No matter how unlikely it is, if it might be our chance to see her again,
We simply have to try.
Oh, come on, it's a JRPG. If it's something we're trying, it's something that's going to happen.
But the Watchers are all gone, right? So how do we find this wheel thingy?
This was once one of their islands, wasn't it? And I'd say that hole in the wall up there was pretty wheel-like.
It looks more like a gear to me, but
I
okay.
reckon we could do worse than start our search right here, you know.
I got nothing better to do. There was that sparkle object that we had in the final cutscene when the credits rolled.
There's a way through up there. Let's go poke around some more, shall we?
So yeah, the post-game content from here, from Dragon Quest XI here, from what I've seen people say about it, is that it's really more like a third act to the game, that it's all part of the story. I'm still going to view it as post-game content, the reason for that being, the Wheel of Time. Well, in the post-game, you know, plot items just come to you so conveniently.
You found the Wheel of Time! Honey, you are just too good at this.
So if I
Because
understood that book
after you beat
correctly,
Mortigan,
the
which we
wheel
did
will
last
bring the
time,
spirits of lost time to the
you had the
tower
credits
we
roll,
mentioned.
you had Summer, you had closure. You had closure to the game right then and there. You could have reasonably stopped the game. Okay, Veronica died. That's fine. But everything else got resolved, you know? And that's a perfectly happy, fine ending to the game. So this is a post-game, and it has its own plot. It's awesome.
Looking for might be?
It gets really awesome, trust
I
me.
thought of something. There's an old tower north of Yggdrasil I always wondered about. Unless anyone's got any better ideas, what say we climb aboard our friendly whale and see what we can see up there?
Yeah, I know exactly what tower you're talking about. Tower we didn't get to in the main game. So let's go ahead and do that. So yeah, when it comes to post-game content or post-game content that I've experienced, Dragon Quest XI is my favorite. In fact, I'm not going to spoil anything right now as far as like the plot that's going to unfold or anything, but I would say that with this post-game content, it having like its own the way that the post game content is, and it's not just like a bonus dungeon with some bonus bosses in that, like some of the Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 ports on the GBA. But it's like it's a whole separate story, a whole addition separate to the story. You'll see what I mean in the next few episodes. But given what it is and what it is so far, I'm thinking that this is, again, I don't want to say anything for sure yet, but this is really pushing Dragon Quest XI to be my favorite Dragon Quest game, and even one of my favorite RPGs. Now, I have said repeatedly that Dragon Quest V was previously my favorite Dragon Quest game. And I haven't come to a decision on that, but given what's about to unfold over the next few episodes, I feel like I need to... I've actually started playing Dragon Quest V on my DS off camera, and I'm not recording it, so don't expect it to show up here on the channel anytime soon, while I would love that to be the case. But given how this is going, I don't feel good about leaving this Let's Play off without coming to a conclusive decision as to
Looks
which
like we
Dragon
found the
Quest
right
title I
tower.
like better,
I
5
wonder if
or
these
11.
spirits of lost time are here already.
And I've said before that I need to play through 5 again in order
Come on,
to
laddie.
form
Let's head on in and see what we can
form
see.
a good opinion on that. So that is what I am doing off camera. So at some point in this LP, before we put this game to bed, I'm going to give you, my decision on which Dragon Quest is my favorite Dragon Quest. For whatever that's worth, that's just something else that you guys get to look forward to in this post game. All right, we're at the Tower of Lost Time, and that means I will see you next time.